Contrary to some people's belief, the situation in Gaza looks pretty gosh darn serious. Especially with video footage like this that's being published right now by Sky News, highlighting the vast amount of damage that was done through the occupation of Gaza, which looks like will get a lot worse from here, as we just got the breaking news that there are going to be some big developments in the region soon. As domestically, here inside of the United States, the Donald Trump administration looks like it is alienating vast majority of its online right-wing influencers that are bewildered by the latest Donald Trump action that, of course, will now punish people who allow people to boycott Israel with the use of their own tax dollars. What in the world's going on here? As, of course, it looks like their attorney general that brought corruption charges against Bibi also is going to be on the outs here. As, of course, we're going to be talking about that and a lot more all here on this independent media broadcast. And if you appreciate our ability to actually talk about it, as, of course, a lot of people are afraid to talk about it. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. A lot of people have been told to shut up about it. If you appreciate us still being here, subscribe, click the notification button. We greatly appreciate all the time that you are willing to spend with us very graciously. This, as we are getting news right now that the decision has been made, according to anonymous sources, that Israel soon might be taking the entire Gaza Strip. We're also hearing that the Bibi government now has also voted to fire the attorney general who is prosecuting him for corruption, as those corruption charges seem to be postponed at the most convenient times for Bibi here, as in America. A lot of people are making these memes right now representing Israel, Donald Trump, and the American people trying to fight off these huge, powerful forces, as it was just announced that the Trump administration is planning to withhold disaster funding from states who allow their citizens to boycott Israel. This is nothing new. Texas has been doing this for quite a long time. States like Florida have already made it illegal to use the purchasing power of your dollar and to use it for political ends and means, just with one particular country. No other country, not the United States, not any other foreign country, but Israel. And you are not allowed to boycott Israel or Israeli products or Israeli businesses deliberately because it is codified and against the law in right-wing states like Texas and Florida. As this decision here, specifically with FEMA disaster preparedness funds on a state and city level, this type of decree here that is linked to $1.9 billion in state disaster funds, it's pretty crazy, because any city and state that allows their citizens to boycott Israeli companies are no longer going to be getting those federal funds that all of our tax dollars are paying for. As Dominique Michael Trippi says, this is a never-ending humiliation ritual. Quote, "What a joke here," as he states this report from Reuters, saying that U.S. states and cities that boycott Israeli companies will be denied federal aid for disaster preparedness. The Trump administration announced, tying routine federal funding to its political stance and foreign policy stance here. Now, FEMA now requires applicants to certify that they will, quote, not restrict commercial relations, specifically with Israeli companies, in order to, quote, qualify for assistance. Now, this is pretty crazy here, as, of course, this is a part of a broader effort brought on by the Trump administration, brought on by the DOJ, that is, quote, trying to stamp out alleged anti-Semitism, as there have already been very serious legal actions against major universities here in the United States, not for discriminating against Asian and whites, but for allegedly discriminating and creating an unsafe environment for Israelis and Jewish students, as the DOJ now is fully investigating a shoving incident. Yes, you heard that correctly. The DOJ, Pam Bondi, took her time from not releasing the Epstein list, not prosecuting Biden, Comey, Clapper, and all these people that there are recommendations for criminal charges for, because there is a shoving incident that happened at one of the universities. As Chris Martinson, Dr. Chris Martinson, a friend of the show here, says, quote, he's lost the plot, hasn't he? And it's not just him that's kind of vocal about this latest kind of action here, as a lot of people on the right, a lot of people on Twitter are saying, this is kind of insane here. Bradley Martin, another kind of podcaster, says, explain this to me like my brain is made of steroids. I guess if you don't support a foreign government, you don't get the tax dollars you pay to come back to help in disaster scenarios. It must be the steroids, but this doesn't feel like America holds the importance of the American people over a foreign government, as a lot of people are saying. And again, the comments here are very, very partisan here, as we have to understand here. There are governments here that have government-run bots, artificial intelligence, and also government employees that are there to specifically send out messaging on social media platforms in order to try to change the narrative and the conversation towards a point of view in a way that, of course, is more shaped towards their kind of government's goals and perspectives. Now, before talking about the other kind of very visceral reaction that a lot of online content creators are having to this, we wanted to tell you about WeAreChange.shop. We got a great shop. We got a lot of great products. One of them is TakeCalm.com. I have it here on my desk. I'm going to be taking some later on today. I had a very busy, very strenuous day. I was just visiting a lot of my relatives that are no longer here, paying respects at their grave sites. And listen, there's a lot, especially with me now soon coming to an end of my trip here that has been, pretty hard on me. I'm going to do a personal video soon about everything that I'm going through, everything I'm seeing, everything that will be available on this YouTube channel later. But I'm going to take some calm today. I was like, where's my calm? I didn't have it when I was running around today. I'm going to take some a little bit before I go to sleep in order to help me get better REM and deep sleep. This stuff is really awesome. We only have 39 of these products remaining, and they are really great products. TakeCalm.com is the website. You have 1,000 milligram hemp full spectrum extract here that, of course, is made, produced, and manufactured here in the United States. This isn't from China. There's no fillers. There's no nonsense. This is the real deal. A lot of people sell fake stuff. You don't want to get your CBD from the gas station. I get it from the best, most reliable, trusted supplier after studying and testing out multiple products for 2 years. And this is the best product on the market that I love. I think you will love too. WeAreChange.shop. TakeCalm.com is the website. Get it now while supplies last. Again, only 39 of them left for this high quality premium product. Other people sell it for $120. I sell it at a more reasonable price, $64. Get it now while supplies last here. Now, let's go through the reactions here, since I think they're important to kind of make people understand what's really going on here. As Milo Yiannopoulos says, quote, this cannot be real. Rex Jones says exactly my reaction. Other people are saying it's over. A lot of other people, like Alexander Dugin, are saying this is the ultimate, quote, betrayal. Blair White, another Donald Trump supporter and voter, says America, quote, is a conquered country. And that's what a lot of people think. As, of course, we have to understand here, the rule of law is being changed. We are being now ruled under a two-tier justice system. As, of course, if you are Israeli, you get special protection. You get special rules. You get special laws. And if you're everybody else, you're treated equally. But no. There are now people getting deported when they were legal people, legal residents, because of their opinions on geopolitics. Cassandra McDonald says, quote, is this a joke? Tell me you are pranking me. And a lot of people are talking about how this is definitely radicalizing them. And it definitely does seem a little unfair here. Jake Shields, who, again, doesn't hold back his opinions on these particular matters, says, quote, Trump will let Americans die if they don't pledge allegiance to Israel. This is, quote, an act of treason. It's time for MAGA to wake up and realize that Trump is an agent of Israel. Now, that's definitely a more kind of radical take here on this situation. As the quartering points out, yeah, this stuff, by the way, has been happening since 2017. And I remember hearing about this story back then during a major type of natural disaster. And then cities and jurisdictions were asked, hey, are you going to pledge allegiance to Israel before we give you this aid and we help you out here? And people were like, wait, what's going on here? Why are we doing this? This seems a little ridiculous, as we have to virtue signal to a foreign country, not our own country, before we get our own money that we paid into. That's our tax dollars. How does that make sense here? As now, we're also hearing, and this is unconfirmed reports here, that Trump also allegedly gave a green light to conduct significant military operations to, quote, occupy Gaza. Now, a lot of the major kind of aggressive moves made by Israel have been greenlit by the president of the United States here. That also, according to multiple sources, did a full-on disinformation campaign in order to make sure that the Iranians were caught off guard from a surprise sneak attack that had all the hallmarkers of U.S. intelligence on it. Now, a senior official in Netanyahu's office says that the decision has been made to, quote, fully occupy Gaza. Now, already, there are multiple reports here from, and again, some of these reports are biased, and again, take everything you hear from a grain of, with a grain of salt here. But it's pretty clear here that there are a lot of innocent people caught up in this madness, in this insanity that's unfolding inside of Gaza right now. As, of course, there was a starvation effort put on by the Israelis that even Donald Trump admitted. Charlie Kirk, Bibi Netanyahu were telling you, no, everything's fine. Donald Trump even came out saying, yeah, the people here are starving. It's awful. It's horrible. It's really crazy what's happening. There's also confessions from Israeli soldiers that are coming out and testifying how a lot of the innocents are routinely targeted in places like Gaza. As, of course, Dr. Eli David says, breaking reports that Prime Minister Netanyahu has decided to authorize completing the conquest of Gaza following Hamas's refusal for a ceasefire and hostage release agreement. Now, if you remember, if you were watching the show, we told you this situation is only going to devolve from here. And it looks like exactly that's what's happening here. We told you it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. As people were saying, no, Hamas is going to concede. And I'm like, Hamas is not going to concede. The people of Gaza are not going to concede here. As they want the deal for the ceasefire to be that Hamas steps down. So far, that hasn't happened. They want them to drop all of their weapons. And, of course, the plan is, that has been already kind of talked about here pretty openly, that Bibi will be taking all the people from Gaza and then shipping them all around the world as refugees. And then Western countries will take them in as refugees. That's the plan. And I think a lot of people in Gaza already know that. And right now, we're hearing reports of this situation that clearly will be devolving from here. And we told you that's exactly what's going to be happening here from a very long time here. Now, allegedly, the president of Russia says, quote, if Russia had done just 10% of what Israel did in Gaza, NATO now would be at Moscow's gates. The West has taught us that human rights begins and ends at the borders of, quote, Israel's interest. Now, I haven't independently verified this personally, but it wouldn't surprise me if this was said here as Putin really wasn't happy with the bombing of Iran. And, of course, this has created a situation that has definitely postponed the peace talks inside of Ukraine. And American foreign policy, specifically when it comes to helping and backing Israel, has a lot of significant consequences. As the people of Syria, as the Christians of Syria will tell you, as well as the Druze, that they're paying the ultimate price for, as the Israelis have been bombing Yemen, Lebanon, Syria, and Iran within the span of the last few particular days here. Now, a lot of people are beginning to get very frustrated with Donald Trump here. Even MTG, that has been kind of critical of his Israeli first type of stances here, as she pointed out, don't talk about it if you aren't going to do it, as she highlighted the number of arrests that have happened here, as a lot of people are looking at this Trump administration and be like, Okay, you're delving out the red carpet for Israel, but are we going to get any justice here? As of course your supporters were punished, your supporters were thrown in jail for supporting you. People were hunted by the FBI, and unless there's any kind of actual legitimate justice here, they're just going to do it again when you leave office. And then when you're in office, all you're kind of doing here is you're putting the silver spoon into one country's mouth and doing everything you can for them, as the American citizens are specifically saying, what about us? As of course, individuals like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and others are gaining a lot of prominence now, specifically saying, hey, there's something else afoot here. There's something weird here happening that doesn't really highlight a Make America First type of movement here. And that's been the direct criticism against Donald Trump here that has been routinely, let's just be honest with ourselves here, kind of amogged, kind of humiliated by Bibi. Bibi, even though he kind of recommended him for the Nobel Peace Prize, he's the first one that recognized Joe Biden as president of the United States in 2020. And I just don't, a lot of people are saying, we just don't understand why Donald Trump is making his presidency a presidency of the special interest groups and the presidency of this one kind of foreign government, where now there's a chilling effect as the DOJ is fully investigating and going after people who criticize this state, which is weird. Now, I understand if someone actively hates someone because of the way that they were born, that's ridiculous. If someone actively is discriminating or hating against people, okay, I get it, but we have to make a special, committee for it. We have to make that a federal matter. That just seems a little bit over the top here. And listen, if you care about the Israeli people, right? If you care about the Jewish people, again, there's a lot of Israeli Jewish people that are protesting Bibi Netanyahu, and they want to see him face justice, specifically with all the corruption charges that he's facing, as, again, his government just voted unanimously to fire the Attorney General who was prosecuting him for corruption. Bibi's days were numbered before October 7th. And right now, we're hearing that there's channeling right now. There's backroom deals highlighting how Israel will be able to, along with the United States, and again, the United States is also destroying trade deals that are good for the American people, because countries like Canada want to recognize the state of Israel. Now, Donald Trump is also now threatening tariffs against countries who recognize Palestine. What? Why are we nuking and destroying our trade deals on the behalf of a foreign government? Now, the courts have actually suspended the Israeli government from sacking their attorney general, but there are clear efforts here for Bibi not to face any type of legitimate charges against him. Now, his day in court has continued to be postponed because of all the foreign conflicts that he keeps getting entangled in. And a lot of people have argued that the more foreign entanglements, the more foreign conflicts that he entangles himself in, the less likely he is ever to, of course, be forced to step down, as, of course, a lot of people were expecting him to step down. And he hasn't. And he probably won't. And with this Trump administration, that is not just rolling out the red carpet, but giving him a blank check to do whatever he wants, with the international community now saying, America, what are you doing? America, why are you codifying this? Why are you allowing this? This is something that we have to understand. This is go time for Bibi Netanyahu. Everything that he has ever wanted to achieve that Joe Biden said no to, that Barack Obama said no to, that George W. Bush said no to, he's able to go in right now and say, Trump's allowing me to do whatever I want. And it definitely does look, especially with all the announcements, especially with the way that things are going, with the way that federal law is being usurped and changed to this kind of two-tier justice system. It definitely is highlighting a very kind of awkward situation where the American people are kind of looking around here and being like, it's pretty clear here that the American people are in the back. And there's someone else driving the ship. And some people are saying, driving this bus. And some people are arguing that this bus is being driven over a cliff. Now, is that an overreaction here? I think the kind of visceral reaction from a lot of people being like, wait, what? This is our priority here? We haven't released the Epstein list. We're bombing countries left and right. Trump started his administration with one of the most aggressive bombing campaigns of his life, specifically bombing Yemen, Now we're bombing Iran. Now we're usurping trade deals on behalf of Israel. Now we're deporting people who are legally here because of their criticism of this foreign government. What's going on here? And again, if you're Israeli, and again, I have no hate towards the Israeli people or the Jewish people, but if you're Israeli, you're like, hey, this is why some people are going to have frustrations with us. As there's an argument to be made here that this over-the-top type of behavior is kind of counterintuitive. As Donald Trump has even allegedly told donors, hey, my supporters are starting to not like Israel. As, of course, once people deem a system unfair, once there's a two-tier kind of justice system, people are like, yeah, this is unfair. Yeah, we need to do something about this. Yeah. And then, of course, comes all the scrutiny. If you don't want the scrutiny, can we just treat everyone equally? Is that too hard to ask? If you don't think so, share this video. A lot of people are going to need some calm because I think the situation in Gaza is only going to get crazier. The situation domestically is only going to get crazier. And listen, as someone who is talking about this, I'm like, how are they going to treat me for talking about this the way that I have? Kind of got to wonder. And again, thank you for your support, and we are on takecalm.com. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys watching, supporting this independent media broadcast. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more, all exclusively here on youtube.com/wearechanging.